ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। ॐ नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। नष्टप्रायेषु अभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवतीरुत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। ॐ अज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपकदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकम्। नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णप्रेष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामीनिति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वते देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्यदेशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. Reading from Śrīmad Bhāgavatam. By His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. We are reading from Canto 4, Chapter 8, Dhruva Mahārāja leaves home. So we are in the section where Dhruva Mahārāja is performing amazing austerities. He has received the complete Upadesh from Narada Muni, and Dhruva Mahārāja is exactly going to follow all the Upadesh that is from Narada Muni. So this is a quite big chapter as such. One of the biggest chapters, 82 shlokas. We are in the final section of this particular chapter. So we have seen that how in the first month, Narada Muni was eating kapistha fruit and some berries once in every 3 days. Triratranti. Once in every 3 days. This is how Dhruva was eating and performing very severe austerities. So we come to text 73. द्वितीयं च तथा मासं षष्ठे अर्भको दिने तृणपर्णादिभिः शीर्णः कृतान्न अभ्यचर्ययन् विभुम्. Translation.
In the second month, Dhruva Maharaj ate only every 6 days, and for his eatables he took dry grass and leaves. Thus he continued his worship. Hare Krishna.
Dvitiyam chamase, in the second month of the austerities, Dhruva Maharaj ate only once in 6 days. And what he was eating? He took dry grass and leaves, and he continued his very intense worship. There was nobody to tell him this is not possible or anything like that. He had full faith in his spiritual master, and this is how he continued his worship in the second month. तृतीयं च आनयन्मासं नवमे अन्निनि अपधक्ष उत्तमश्लोकम् उपाधावत् समाधिना. Translation.
In the third month, he drank water only every 9 days. Thus he remained completely in trance and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is adored by selected verses.
Yeah. Third month, once in every 9 days, he started drinking some water. And he was very intensely worshipping Uttama Shloka, the Supreme Lord who is glorified by the choice verses. Text 75. Chaturtham api vai masam dvadashenhani vayubhaksho chitashvaso dhyayan devam adharayat. Translation.
In the fourth month, Dhruva Maharaj became a complete master of the breathing exercise, and thus he inhaled air only every 12th day. In this way, he became completely fixed in his position and worshipped the Supreme Personality of Godhead.
Yeah. So this is every 12th day in the 4th month, he was just breathing some air and he became complete master of pranayam and he became Vayu Bhaksho Jitashvaso. Only by drinking Vayu, that is by drinking air once in 12 days. Jitashvaso, he completely controlled himself, and this is how he continued his austerities. Text 76. Panchame masya anuprapte jitashvasa nrupatmajaha bhai dhyayan brahmapadayikena tasthau sthanur ivachalam. Translation.
By the fifth month, Dhruva, the son of the king, had controlled his breathing so perfectly that he was able to stand on only one leg, just as a column stands, without motion, and concentrate his mind fully on the Parabrahman. Thank you, Prabhu.
Now, the 5th month, he became so perfect that he was able to stand on. He controlled his breath and mind and stood motionless in one foot like a pillar. And this is how he meditated the Lord's form from within. Text 77. Sarvato mana akrishya rudibhutendriyashayam dhyayan bhagavato rupam nadrakshit kinchinaparam. Translation.
He completely controlled his senses and their objects, and in this way he fixed his mind, without diversion to anything else, upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The yogic principles of meditation are clearly explained here. One has to fix one's mind upon the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead without diversion to any other objective. It is not that one can meditate or concentrate on an impersonal objective. To try to do so is simply a waste of time, for it is unnecessarily troublesome, as explained in Bhagavad Gita.
So later, he completely controlled his senses and their objects. Right? Indriya and Vishaya, he completely controlled. And in this way, he fixed his mind, samadhinam, without deviation on, without diversion on anything else, upon the form of the Supreme, Dhyayan Bhagavato Rupam. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada dedicates to this particular thing, Dhyayan Bhagavato Rupam. That Dhruva Mahārāja was instructed to meditate on the form of the Supreme, and he did not diverse that on some other object or some other impersonalistic idea. Right. Prabhupada says, Prabhupada quotes here, Bhagavad Gita, Klesho adhikatarastesham avyakta asakta chetasam avyakta higatir dukkham dehavadbhir avapyate. That meditation means it has to be on the form of the Supreme Lord as described in the Shastra. It is not some whimsical activity. So in summary, one can see Dhruva Mahārāja, 5 months of austerity. First month, he was eating fruits once in 3 days. Fruits which are not meant for humans, right? Only monkeys used to eat that kapitta fruit. Once in 6 days, in the second month, he was eating dry grass and leaves. Once in 9 days, he was drinking water. Once in 12 days, he was Vayu Bhakshana, he was breathing. In the 4th month and 5th month, he completely controlled his mind, senses, and he stood on one leg like a pillar. And this is how he complete, and all the while doing such intense austerity, Dhyayan Bhagavato Rupam. His mind was completely focused on the Supreme Lord. Now we enter this last section of this chapter, 78 to 82. Because of such intense tapasya by Dhruva, what was the effect of Dhruva's this intense tapasya and meditation? Text 78. Adharam mahadadinam pradhana purusheshwaram brahmadharayamanasya trayolokanukampire. Translation.
When Dhruva Mahārāja thus captured the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is the refugee of the total material creation and who is the master of all living entities, the three worlds began to tremble. Purport. In this verse, the particular word Brahma is very significant. Brahman refers to one who not only is the greatest but has the potency to expand to an unlimited extent. How was it possible for Dhruva Mahārāja to capture Brahman within his heart? This question has been very nicely answered by Jiva Goswami. He says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the origin of Brahman. For since he comprises everything material and spiritual, there cannot be anything greater than he. In the Bhagavad Gita also Supreme Godhead says, I am the resting place of Brahman. Many persons, especially the Mayavadi philosophers, consider Brahman the biggest, all-expanding substance. But according to this verse and other Vedic literatures such as Bhagavad Gita, the resting place of Brahman is the Supreme Personality of Godhead, just as the resting place of the sunshine is the sun globe. Srila Jiva Goswami therefore says that since the transcendental form of the Lord is the seed of all greatness, he is the Supreme Brahman. Since the Supreme Brahman was situated in the heart of Dhruva Mahārāja, he became heavier than the heaviest, and therefore everything trembled in all three worlds and in the spiritual world.
Yeah, so we'll just read in sections. So with this intense austerity, when Dhruva Mahārāja thus captured the Supreme Lord, who is the Supreme Lord? Supreme Lord is Adharam Mahadadinam. He is the refuge of the total material creation, and he is Pradhana Purusheshwaram. He is the master of all living entities. Brahmadharayanama. And such a Brahman was, such Supreme Lord was Dharayan, was captured by Dhruva Mahārāja. The three worlds began to tremble. Trayo Lokadhi Lokascha Kampire. All the three worlds began to tremble. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains what is Brahman. Brahman is greatest and has a potency to expand in unlimited ways. But what is the basis of Brahman? So here Srila Prabhupada quotes Jiva Goswami. Jiva Goswami ji explains that the Supreme Lord is the basis of Brahman. Brahmano hi pratishtaham. Right? This is Bhagavad Gita. That the Brahma Jyoti is based on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Just like, what is Brahma Jyoti? Brahma Jyoti is, the Yasya Prabha Prabhavato Jagadanda Koti Koti Shvashesha Vasudhadi Vibhuti Bhinnam. So, Brahma Jyoti is nothing but the bodily effulgence coming out from the transcendental form of the Lord, Satchidananda form of the Lord. Yasya Prabha Prabhavato. This is called as Brahman. So, just like the sunshine is based on the sun planet, sun god, similarly, the Brahma Jyoti is based on the Supreme Personality of Godhead. And Jiva Goswami explains, and because Dhruva captured the Supreme Lord within his heart, entire Brahman was captured. Brahman is the greatest and ever expanding. And this is how he became heavier than the heaviest because of capturing the Supreme Lord, and therefore everything trembled. Right? Therefore, everything trembled. And Prabhupada writes, in all three worlds and in the spiritual world. So, Trilok within the material world and even the spiritual world began to tremble by the 6 months austerities of 5-year-old child who followed instruction of his spiritual master. Look at who is doing what. Correct? So this is the intensity and this is the potency of devotional service, and specifically following the instructions of spiritual master. Yeah, please continue.
The Mahat Tattva, or the sum total of the material creation, is to be understood to be the ultimate end of all universes, including all living entities therein. Brahman is the resort of the Mahat Tattva, which includes all material and spiritual entities. It is described in this connection that the Supreme Brahman, the personality of Godhead, is the master of both Pradhana and Purusha. Pradhana means subtle matter, such as ether. Purusha means the spiritual spark, living entities who are entangled in that subtle material existence. These may also be described as Para-Prakriti and Apara-Prakriti, as stated in the Bhagavad Gita. Krishna, being the controller of both the Prakritis, is thus the master of Pradhana and Purusha. In the Vedic hymns also, the Supreme Brahman is described as Antaha Pravikshtaha Shasta. This indicates that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is controlling everything and entering into everything. The Brahma Samhita 5.35 further confirms this. Andantarastha Paramanu Chayantarastham. He has entered not only the universes but even the atom. In Bhagavad Gita 10.42, Krishna also says, Vishtabhya aham idam krishnam Vishtabhya aham idam krishnam. Supreme Personality of Godhead controls everything by entering into everything. By associating constantly with the Supreme Personality in his heart, Dhruva Mahārāja naturally became equal to the greatest Brahman by his association, and thus became the heaviest, and the entire universe trembled. In conclusion, a person who always concentrates on the transcendental form of Krishna within his heart can very easily strike the whole world with wonder at his activities. This is the perfection of yoga performance, as confirmed in the Bhagavad Gita 6.47. Yoginam api sarvesham. Of all yogis, the bhakti yogi who thinks of Krishna always within his heart and engages in his loving transcendental service is the topmost. Ordinary yogis can exhibit wonderful material activities known as Ashtasiddhi, 8 kinds of yogic perfection. But a pure devotee of the Lord can surpass these perfections by performing activities which can make the whole universe tremble. Hare Krishna.
Now further, Srila Prabhupada explains that what is Mahat Tattva? Mahat Tattva is the sum total of material creation, and Pradhana is the subtle matter. And the Supreme Lord is called as, here in this verse, Pradhana Purusheshwaram. Adharam Mahadadinam Pradhana Purusheshwaram. Srila Prabhupada is going to dedicate this purport to these 2 words. And Srila Prabhupada quotes here how beautifully the Supreme Lord is master of Pradhana and Purusha, Para and Apara Prakriti. So Pradhana is the matter, Mahatattva is the matter, Pradhana is the matter, and Purusha in this case is the living entity who is desiring to enjoy the material world, and therefore Purusha in this case is the living spark, and thus it covers both Para and Apara Prakriti. And then sure by Dhruva, what happened is, by associating constantly with the Supreme Personality of Godhead in his heart, Dhruva Mahārāja naturally became equal to the greatest Brahman. By his association, and thus he became heaviest, and therefore the entire universe trembled. Right? So why the universe trembled is because Dhruva Mahārāja became as good as the Supreme Personality of Godhead by holding the Lord within. Right? So we become what we associate with. Simple. It is not the Mayavadi concept that Dhruva became God. It's such a cheap idea it is. No. Personality remained separate, Dhruva remained separate, their relationship continued as bhakti, but Dhruva became as powerful as the Supreme Lord. Prabhupada says in conclusion, a person who always concentrates on the transcendental form of the Lord within his heart can very easily strike the whole world with wonder at his activities. There are so many great examples of, one powerful example is Srila Prabhupada himself, right? And therefore Prabhupada quotes here, Yoginam api sarvesham. Ordinary yogis can perform some mystic activities, Ashtasiddhi, but a pure devotee of the Lord can surpass all these perfections by performing the activities where the whole world can tremble. And actually one can see that, Srila Prabhupada, he made the whole world tremble in ecstasy of Krishna consciousness. Whole world is, inundated with the message of the Lord, Bhagavad Gita, and the names of the Supreme Lord. Right? So this is the potency of devotional service. Right? Such amazing potency of devotional service. So this is how the three worlds trembled as Dhruva continued his austerities. Now Dhruva has become literally one with the Supreme and is standing on one leg. And now what is going to happen? Let us hear this. In text 79, the earth was pushed down by Dhruva. Text 79. Yadaikapathena saparthivarvakas tasthau tatangushtani pedita mahi nanama tatrardhami iba indradhishta tariva samvetaratah pade pade. Translation.
As Dhruva Maharaj, the king's son, catch himself repeatedly standing on one leg, the caster of his big toe pushed down half the earth, just as an elephant being carried on a boat dropped the boat left and right with his every step. Purport. The most significant expression in this verse is Parthivar Bhakshaha, the son of the king. When Dhruva Maharaj was at home, although he was a king's son, he was prevented from getting on the lap of his father. But when he became advanced in self-realization or devotional service, by the pressure of his toe, he could push down the whole earth. That is the difference between ordinary consciousness and Krishna consciousness. In the ordinary consciousness, a king's son may be refused something even by his father, but when the same person becomes fully Krishna conscious, within his heart, he can push down the earth with the pressure of his toe. One cannot argue how is that the Dhruva Maharaj, who was prevented from getting up on the lap of his father, could press down the whole earth. This argument is not very much appreciated by the learned, for it is an example of Nagna Matrika logic. By this logic, one would think that because his mother in her childhood was naked, she should remain naked even when she is grown up. The stepmother of Dhruv Maharaj might have been thinking in a similar way. Since she has refused to allow him to get up on the lap of his father, how could Dhruva perform such wonderful activities as pressing down the whole earth? She must have been very surprised when she learned that Dhruva Maharaj, by concentrating constantly on the Supreme Personality of Godhead within his heart, could press down the entire earth like an elephant who presses down the boat on which it is loaded. Harish.
Now there is description as Dhruva, who is Nrupanuja, is the son of the king, Parthiva Arbhaka. Now look at the word Arbhaka, Parthiva Arbhaka. Parthiva is the king, Arbhaka is the child. Arbhaka means he's just a child. We are calling Dhruva Maharaj, Maharaj, because of his the great intensity. But when you see Dhruva, he's just a child, right? So that Arbhaka, he kept himself steadily standing on one leg. His big toe, Angutha, he pushed down half of the earth because suddenly he became one with the Supreme. And what happened is he assumed the weight of the Supreme, and suddenly the half of the earth was pushed down. And beautiful example is given, just like sometimes one may carry a huge elephant on a boat, and just imagine if the elephant starts walking inside the boat, how the boat will tremble left and right. This is how the earth began to tremble by the weight of 5-year-old Dhruva. In the purport, Srila Prabhupada explains that Dhruva was a king's son, and he was just prevented from climbing on the lap of his father. But Dhruva took shelter of devotional service. So one thing is here, one thing is we have no control over the reaction. Sometimes action may be small, action may be very, very small, right? But reaction can be tremendous, huge reaction. reaction can be huge. Just like, sometimes you just गाड़ी को just side में लिया and then you just don't know, you are flying over the flyover, and sometimes we have seen the car falling from the flyover also. Correct. What was the action? Action was very small. He just took car on one side, and suddenly the reaction may be very huge. So here action was very small as such. Itna kya kiya yaar? He was just saying, hey, sit down, like that it was. But we don't know how the other person is going to react on our action. And therefore, it is always very safe to give a controlled sattva guna action or reaction. Because sometimes, we all must have this experience. We speak just one word here and there, and reaction may be humongous reaction. We just feel, baap re, itna ho gaya ek. I just spoke this one thing, Prabhuji. Itna bhavan ho gaya usse, pata nahi tha mujhe. And therefore, the boundary of 4 regulative principles on one side and the boundary of Vaishnava etiquette on another side is very important for a devotee, because we have no control over reaction. So here Dhruva, he took it very seriously, the offense by his mother, and then he became literally one with the Supreme, and he became so Krishna conscious that he literally pushed down the earth. Prabhupada here, second paragraph Prabhupada quotes, one may argue how it is that Dhruva Mahārāja, who was prevented from getting up on the lap, could press down the whole earth. And Prabhupada said this is a nonsense logic. And sometimes people say, अभी वो बहुत बड़ा करोड़पति हो गया, हमारे बचपन में हमारे सामने वो ये खेलता था करके. Yeah, बचपन में somebody Prabhupada quotes here one particular nyaya. बचपन में someone is doing something doesn't mean that he cannot become a great person eventually, right? बचपन में people may be just doing. Prabhupada used to quote this thing that there was a Penchu, there was a boy who used to move around naked in the girl, in the around his house. Later on, he became a huge high court judge. That was the parameter those times to indicate person is successful. He became a high court judge. In today's time, we can say he became a multi-billion-dollar company CEO. But village people is saying, wo naked pencho. So Prabhupada says, bachpan mein somebody something, but by intensity of his action, one can become a very great person. So this logic is there is no logic in asking the reaction. The reaction was, he was prevented from getting up on the lap of his mother, and the reaction was, so Prabhupada writes here, his mother, Suruci, must have been very surprised when she learned that Dhruva Mahārāja could press down the entire earth like the elephant is rocking the boat. Now, one can see what's happening to Suruci. All these reports are going to Suruci, thanks to Narada Muni, right? And when the entire earth began to tremble, now, it is one word here in Bhāgavatam, earth is trembling. Those who have experienced Killari earthquake, 1992, I was in 10th standard and I still remember, the whole earth began to tremble. And that remained for a couple of minutes, earth was trembling. We just ran out of the house. Those who were in Mumbai and other places, they were telling, they were describing that how entire buildings were vibrating. And now here, the entire earth, 3 planetary systems, and the spiritual world, everything began to tremble. And the in charges of these worlds, they became very, very concerned. The devas, they put in great anxiety. Kya hua? Their nice Apsara Nritya is going on, Somras is going on, their whole, of course, they are great personalities, their own activities are going on, and suddenly everything began to tremble. And they were wondering what is happening. So this was the effect of Dhruva's meditation. Right. So we will conclude here and continue tomorrow. Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Gaura Bhakta Vrinda ki jai. Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. Hare Krishna.
Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhupada.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna.